we are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is Pcar Talk. Guys, hey, before the show starts, wanted to remind you guys, Aaron and I have put together a club drive that is coming out. It will be in April. Dates are going to be announced to club members, so you need to be a club member to join, correct? With that, how do they do that?
Go to pcartalk.com, and then you'll look under the club, and you'll see that there's a drop-down menu, and then it says the annual club drive.
Awesome. In order to go on the club job, you need to become a member. How do you become a member? Go to pcartalk.com. We have memberships starting as little as $60 a year. However, we do recommend you get the highest level, the RS membership, which is like $160 a year. With those, you can read on the website. We won't bore you with that, but we have been told that we need to go ahead and describe that to everybody, that that's annual, not per month. In addition to that, there's also a giveaway every month with your membership that's sponsored, and we've given away some amazing things, right?
Stuff,
like a model that was like $600 that was supplied by Suncoast, and deck lids that are supplied by people that are making customized things, and then we're giving away valve covers that are made for keychain. I'm telling you, if you win one of these things, and you even have a base one, and it's random, so people, you've basically paid for your membership for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 5 years or however you do the math. So there's a lot to be given away. I know there's probably people saying out there like, oh my God, whatever, what do I get with it? Well, you get a crap ton. So needless to say, and also there's a drive that you're going to be able to go on as well.
That's the big part.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big driving event, but you need to pay for it to go on drive. Obviously, your membership doesn't pay for that, but it gets you the code to get onto the website to sign up. And once you become a club member, the password goes out to you, and then you can sign up for the drive. So make sure that you go ahead and sign up, because it's only going to be open for roughly 2 months, and then we're closing the door on it because we need to make sure that we have everything accommodated for the people that have signed up, correct?
Correct.
So without further ado, enjoy the rest of the show. Welcome to another episode of Pcar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are on location again at Porsche of Tampa Bay with Chris Rogers from the Rees family.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Of course. So we're here this evening, catching up with Chris, like we said we would. Last time we talked, it was summertime.
Yeah. Seems like
yesterday.
Just yesterday.
Yeah. But it's insane how fast the summer goes. We're already into 2020. And we're having one of our Florida winter days, which we're all enjoying for a change. We're in the 50s, and we're not sweating for a change, so it's a beautiful night. And we also got a ride in the beautiful Taycan Turbo S.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's an unbelievable car.
Yeah, and we're going to definitely deep dive into that, because Chris went to school at PEC Atlanta, and went through a course of the delivery, to deliver these things to customers, and then also was generous enough to give us a ride tonight in it. And I think my ears and my head are still ringing from like the acceleration of that thing.
You think you're ready, but you're not.
Exactly. You're right. I mean, you know that it's going to be fast, but you just don't realize how violent the car
is.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. It really does. I mean, the best way to describe it's not like the normal population gets in a fighter aircraft and gets up, but it really is. It's the most comparable thing. It's like a sledgehammer. You're riding, and all of a sudden it's a sledgehammer.
Right now. Yep. The torque is right now.
And like you were saying when we were driving, you're like, it just keeps going. It doesn't end. It's not like there's a sensation of power and then it comes off. It's just, as long as your foot's on it, you're pinned in the seat.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's also just a different sensation of speed too, where you're just seeing a number and you're kind of realizing that it's fast.
You're absolutely right. You don't get the screaming motor and the gear changes and all this stuff. You just get speed, and it's like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
They kind of just broke it down in the most pure form of performance and said, here it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, as things start to whiz by, because we basically battle tested this thing in a normal environment, unlike a lot of press people that were out on runways. So it's probably kind of tough to get a sensation of speed. But I mean, obviously you can tell a car's still fast. But when you're out there in the normal populace driving this thing around, and you see how quickly you're gaining on other vehicles, and you go from normal speed to illegal speed like instantaneously,
right?
It's unreal.
And like we talked about, where you watch the speedometer when you're on it, and it's jumping in increments of 10 and 12 miles per hour every time it's changing. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, the digital speedo can't even keep up. It's so quick. It's unreal. It's pretty shocking. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things maybe that haven't been discussed quite a bit, and some of the things that you learned when you were in Atlanta that you could possibly share with us that you found that were kind of like highlights to you, where like, wow, that's kind of neat. Wow, I didn't know that, even though you knew. But like, what are some of those things that you saw?
Sure. So I think that some of the things that really stood out to me were like the daily usability type stuff, because we know the car is going to be fast. Of course, you don't know how fast until you drive it, but you know it's going to be fast, and you know it's going to handle really well. So I thought that the daily use type stuff. So for example, we've got these driver profiles that you set up, and it's part of the delivery process. And if you're, if you're somebody that's on a daily regimen where you leave at the same time and you go home at the same time and things like that, you can set up these profiles so the car can be preconditioned to where you want it. So if you like the car to be 72 degrees and the seat ventilation's on, when you get in the car to leave in the morning, the car starts getting ready a couple hours ahead of time, warming the battery up, getting the car ready, and you're using wall power for that because you're plugged in, you're charging, right? So you're not using vehicle power, you're conditioning the battery, warming it up, getting it to operating temperature, or depending on where you are geographically, maybe cooling the battery down or warming, that kind of thing. So that I thought that was very cool, because the car does have it'll have an available steel roof, but right now they're all coming with the glass roof, and there's no shade. So for Florida, it's got a really high tech glass panel in it, but that ability to cool the car off before you get in, it's very nice. So I thought that was cool.
So it's like a super smart.
Yeah, super intelligent.
And if you're not on a daily routine, you jump on your phone on the app, turn the air conditioning on in the car before you're getting ready to leave, and get it ready. So I thought that was cool. We have, which you may have heard, is full Apple Music integration into the user interface. So this is something that would be accessible to you without your phone. It's not Bluetooth based. It's actually on the car. You sign into your Apple Music account. It is going. If you don't have it, it is going to be free for. I believe they were kind of going back and forth, but I think we're going to get a year free trial with Apple Music when you purchase the Taycan, and then. If you get Burmester, the Burmester sound engineers, the Porsche sound engineers, and the Apple Music folks all got together to optimize Apple Music for the Burmester stereo in the Taycan. So unbelievable music listening experience. Of course, there's not any noise coming from the outside. The car is very quiet unless you've got the Millennium Falcon sound turned on.
Like the word.
But so I thought that was very cool. And if you're listening to a new station or a song, even if it's on FM or satellite, and you like the song, you can hit save without stopping playback. It'll seamlessly transition you to Apple Music, and you can create a music station, a radio station
based
off of that song. So just some kind of cool little things like that are
make
really
life a little
neat.
bit easier.
Exactly.
So really thought out tech wise as far as that goes.
Absolutely.
I think that's incredible as far as the car learning your system. And there's probably the people listening, there's two ways to think about that. One, that's really scary.
It knows me.
Or number two, that's really convenient. So,
Certainly.
I mean, it just depends if you're a half glass, half full, or empty type of person. I think it's pretty neat, because how convenient is that to not have to, and I know we've done it, and it sounds pretty pretentious, but this is the life we live in. We live in the best time to be alive, essentially, from a tech base and things that are happening. But yeah, you get in the car and you got to readjust your seat because there's not memory, or you have to, these little things that are like
becoming commonplace.
Exactly. It seems
out,
tedious, and it's like, oh my God, are you making a stiff about that? And you're like, well, all these little things start to add up. You're like, oh, I got to plug my phone in to get my music. I got to do this.
Grumpy about the menial
So, like,
things.
why is it so damn hot in this car? Like, why couldn't it cool off already? Like,
exactly. And we are going to have, we're going to have wireless charging and stuff like just like made me think of it, plugging your phone in. The other thing that's kind of cool is we're going to have on demand some of the options that are software based. If you don't order them on your car, or you buy one out of stock and then you want maybe Porsche Intelligent Range Manager, which helps you manage the range and find charging stations and so on.
Yeah.
These are things that are going to be available on demand on your My Porsche account. So I don't have Power Steering Plus, no problem. I'm going to go onto my Porsche account, buy it, It'll download over the air onto my car. You get in your car the next morning and you got power steering.
That's a way to do upgrades right there.
Very cool stuff. Yeah.
That's really nice.
Because we don't have, real mechanical limitations to some of the things, especially the software type based stuff. You're going to be able to buy some of these options after the fact, which is a first for Porsche.
Yeah.
So pretty
I think
cool.
that's pretty cool too. Yeah. That's really eye-opening to me from a customer base, especially if anybody who's listening that's maybe not a first-time buyer, and if you're a second-hand or third-hand type of buyer, as Chris was mentioning, that's a really cool option to be able to go in just because the car wasn't optioned that way and be able to buy some additional options. Maybe because you are the second or third owner and you're like, well, I don't have to hunt down that exact model because I can go buy certain options to put on it.
Like
now.
the Sport Sound, like that's going to be one that you'll be able to buy after the fact if you don't get the Warp Drive sound.
Yeah.
You can buy it after the fact. So that's some cool stuff too coming. And of course, they talked about at the school charging networks increasing, getting bigger all the time. Specifically, the Electrify America charging network is growing. We now have, since we spoke, we've got some in Tampa. So in New Tampa, there's about 10 of them.
Wow, that's cool.
So Electrify America is
here
in Tampa now.
It's going quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. And they're building more all the time. And a good time to point out too is that in your Taycan you can charge on any charging station, with the exception of Tesla, of course, because
of course. Well,
naturally.
Well, yeah, I mean,
the dark side.
It makes sense.
That's right.
Naturally, like they're the first rivals basically in that market scene. So why are they going to cooperate, right?
Sure. It's the same reason why the Apple cord's different than everybody else's.
Exactly.
I mean, it's that same kind of deal. So
yeah, the ship is sinking on the other side of the pond, but they don't want to give it up yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is a real. I mean, you guys, when we just went for a ride in the car, right? So I mean, it is a proper Porsche and a real game changer, and kind of going to, and I think that Tesla certainly. Kind of we're game changers or revolutionary in that market. But this is going to be something that's going to take that to the next level and just push it even further, which I think is good. I mean, it's
a positive thing for the market.
Absolutely.
It definitely is and I've been in Teslas, and that car definitely feels a level up from especially a fit and finish. And I think I heard somebody else, so this isn't mine, but I've heard other people describe both of them. Obviously, Tesla existed because it needed to exist to start to change mindsets behind other people doing things, as far as a manufacturing standpoint. And with that, us as consumers, as we've talked before, we're the beneficiaries of that.
Sure.
But as compared to Tesla, that was just transportation. This is driving enjoyment.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the biggest difference in my personal opinion and what I've heard as well. And now experiencing it, with you, there is. It's almost kind of saying like, okay, well, apple and orange, they're both fruits, so they're the same, right? No, they're not. They're very, very different.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, and I think that, of course, it is more expensive than the Tesla, but Porsche has always been unapologetically more expensive.
Of course.
I mean, it's a premium product. It's an exclusive product that not everybody has access to. So,
and their goal isn't, and compared to other manufacturers, they're not shooting to sell 1 million Taycans.
Right.
No.
That's not the goal. It's more of kind of, let's make sure our quality is up on these cars, and let's make X number and fill that in, and that's where they're shooting for. So they're saying, okay, we're going to make less, but the difference is the quality is going to be out through the roof.
Absolutely. And it is. I mean, and the car is only going to get better. I mean, if this is the first try.
I know, right?
I mean, the sky's the limit as far as that goes.
It's incredible because, like you said, too, the fit, and we knew this going in, and we've seen that static displays, but this is the first time we've been in the actual functioning vehicle and actually got to see all the things operating and integrating properly and all talking to each other, and nothing misses a hitch, and there's no squeaks and rattles. And granted, you shouldn't expect that in a $200,000 car, but with that being said, there are certain cars that have those squeaks and rattles that have to go back, that are like 200. They're like, hey, this is making a funny noise. And, I'm not naming brand names, but we all know that.
Sure.
There are some that are super high end, and you're like, why is this coming back now?
Exactly, and you don't have the resonance and the noise that internal combustion makes to hide some of those noises. So any kind of squeak and rattle is really going to be there in something like this.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, because all of that stuff would be amplified because of the quietness of it. And you're right; they had to actually go the opposite way as opposed to the other way of where, if you're in a GT3 RS where it's howling and making noises, it can hide squeaks and rattles.
Sure.
As opposed to that, it's going to uncover everything.
Yep.
So, yeah, great point on that. I didn't even consider that, but yeah, that's a very, very good point. And that just, again, goes back to the fit and finish. And I think another thing too, it has been talked about here and there, but I think the durability and the consistency of Porsche, where it can continue to launch over and over and over and over again and not break. And I think that goes to that level of one other thing that you're paying for.
Sure. And that's one of the things that, one of the primary reasons for the 800 volt architecture for the electrical system in this car was specifically for repeatability of performance. So this car is really not working as hard as other EVs are to go fast, because we're really kind of, we're not, that 800 volt system doesn't have to work as hard as a 400 volt system.
Exactly.
So you can get those consistent launches and those consistent quarter mile times and stuff.
And not the overheating problems that the other ones show.
Exactly.
When you continuously push them and push them and push them, which goes back to what I said earlier. Yeah, when you start to do that, the excuses come out. They're like, well, it wasn't intended for you to launch 40 or 50 times in a row like that.
Yep.
And that's why
for fun.
And that's why it's overheating. You're like, okay, so it's just transportation then that can launch occasionally.
Right. Which is it?
Yeah,
right. Is it a sports car or is it transportation that every once in a while?
So it's a mindless pod. Just say what it is, because that's what it is.
Exactly.
Like, this is driving performance at its peak, and that's what that is, and that's why it is priced the way it is, and that's why it's configured the way it is. Yep. So they're again, to what we said earlier, totally different animals.
Yep. Sure. Yeah. No question about it.
But yeah. Thank you for taking us on that ride. It was amazing.
Absolutely.
So let's rewind a little bit. Obviously, we just clicked over 2019. Let's talk about Reeves, Porsche of Tampa. So how was your 2019?
2019 was fantastic for us. Obviously, some new product launches always help. We've got some more of those coming this year, but new 911, obviously a huge success for Porsche and for us. I mean, you guys were at the party, so it was fun. We had a good time that night.
Absolutely.
But the economy was fantastic. The product is as good or better than it's ever been. And so that made for a really successful 2019. I mean, going into December, everything in December was on top of 2018. So at the end of November, we had surpassed our 2018 sales numbers.
Awesome.
So, I mean, you can't ask for much more than that.
That's
We're
true.
Really blessed, and it was a really, really good year. I think we did 75 cars in December, which was the second best Porsche month ever.
Yeah.
So I mean, you
That's
can't
impressive.
really. Yeah, man, it was awesome.
I remember you saying this too prior over the summer as we were closing in on December. You were saying it's your busy month.
Yep.
And I was like, December, really? And you're like, oh yeah, tons of people buy cars in December. It's unbelievable.
That fourth quarter, October, November, December, and really September and the end of August, it just kind of starts ramping, and then December, it's like,
it's just on.
I think part of it is into year bonuses and tax write-offs.
That's
and
true.
Stuff like that. But I mean, the economy's obviously flying, so. I don't expect that to hopefully to slow down. I think that the industry, 15 to 17 million new cars a year for the last several years. I don't know that you can really sustain that. I think that eventually everybody's got a car.
Yeah,
right?
True.
So I think that the business, I think we're going to be able to grow this year, and Porsche grew last year just like we did.
Insurmountably. Like we actually talked about that. It's insane how much
year
they
over
grew.
year. It's amazing, and they just they're
they
very
moved like
smart.
290,000 units or something like that as an AG last year.
And
insane.
And they just go for this kind of incremental growth, right? They're not trying to blast past anything they did year before. It's just kind of this steady, slow and steady wins the race kind of thing.
Exactly.
And so I mean, I think that the business is going to be there. I think dealers in general are going to have to work a little bit harder. I don't know that you can count on just people walking through the door and say, hey, sell this to me. So going back, that service and that taking care of people philosophy is going to be really what we're going to have to stand on.
It's going to be great because you guys are second to none when it comes to that. So
we appreciate that. We work really hard, and so it's nice to.
You got a leg up on the game on that one. You don't have to start putting it. It's like you're just part of your DNA.
Sure,
so that's pretty easy.
It is, and and I think that's going to help us, continue to be successful. And obviously, heading into 2020. We got Taycan. We've got some of the other stuff we're going to talk about later on. The EVs and Cayman and Boxster news and all kinds of stuff.
So tell us what's going on. Is the parking garage complete? Is it almost complete? What are the where are we at?
The parking garage is done. Yes.
Okay.
Praise the Lord. Yeah, it is done. We're very lucky. Mrs. Reeves put it was a big investment on her part, and she doesn't like the grandma word, so but she, so it was a big investment. It's been really nice because it's alleviated, both the customer experience, parking for customers, employee parking, and it's just really cool to have all of our stuff in one row.
Exactly.
We've got all of our pre-owned inventory upstairs now, so it's allowed us to carry more pre-owned inventory than we've had in the past.
That's really good.
And then, you take somebody up to the parking garage and you've got, 45 or 50 Porsches just lined up right in a row. Visually, it's something.
I was just about to say,
cool.
the minute you see that, it's kind of like just hits you and you're like, I'm in the right spot.
Absolutely. No, it's been really good. So we're very, very happy about that. It was a long time coming. So.
I mean, that's probably back to from a sales perspective. I'm sure that impact of that is really, really good for
100%
for the buying experience when you walk in there and you're
customer
just
experience for the salespeople. Everything's there, so I don't have to say, all right, is it over here? Is it behind Subaru? Is it detail here? I know.
And I've heard you guys just in passing in conversation when we're trading cars or we're waiting to review a car. I've heard prior to the parking garage, you're like, oh, that one's in the back. And
correct.
Somebody's like, where's the Panorama? Where's the Panamera 4 at? And you're like, oh, I think it's in the back. I parked it in the back or something like that.
Sure,
so
stuff like that. Everything's kind of spread around. So it's been godsend for sure. We're really happy to have it done. So
that's awesome. I'm happy for you guys.
Absolutely.
I remember seeing that thing from the interstate getting built. It
was amazing watching it go together. I mean, it's like the big jigsaw puzzle or something
like Legos going in.
A big Lego set, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you guys are going to have an outstanding 2020, especially with the product line that's coming and, some of the stuff we kind of talked about a little bit offline, but it's not even written, like the 4-liter Cayman and the Boxster, the GTS that's coming out.
Yeah.
And
that's going to be great.
Yeah, and I'm sure, we've talked about it, so we're going to reiterate it. All of you people who wanted that car, you need to come to the dealerships and buy those cars.
Buy them, yep.
Because Porsche listened to you, so now go buy the cars because you wanted to you say, oh, well, I don't want to buy that car unless it's back to a six cylinder.
And they really brought it too. I mean, that's
now
a 4-liter.
Yeah, now they're not only giving us the 6-cylinder, but they're giving us the 4-liter that's, you're going to be able to buy a GT4 or Boxster Spider.
Yeah.
Light,
exactly.
I mean, you can.
That was for me. That was a little bit of a, They put that in the GTS.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
was pretty. It was.
But
it was
I'm
amazing.
thankful they did that. Like when they did it, I wasn't like a about it, in a bad way. But I was like a in a positive way because I thought, like he said, I'm like, okay, so they must have heard that resonate. Maybe there was so much success with the Spider. So they were probably like, you know what? Maybe there's something to this. Let's maybe notch it down a little bit and put it in the highest level trim we have and see how that does.
Yeah, and it would give you an opportunity to, not just to have the 6-cylinder, but if you want the screamer, the high revving, and albeit it's not going to rev 9,000 RPM, but it's close, but it
gets you 90% of the way, right?
You're going to be able to get seat ventilation.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to get Burmester.
Exactly.
Some of these things things that aren't available in a GT4 or a Boxster Spider, these things are going to be within reach with a 4-liter. Mm-hmm. And you've got a car that is not as harsh to drive every day as a GT4 or
almost
a
an
Boxster
executive
Spider.
GT4.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's what the GTS trim is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the blend of a GT car, but the comfort of the highest level of what they offer between the line from a comfort perspective.
Yep. That's
a perfect blend. And finally, they're actually doing it and not just in name and comfort wise, you're getting the performance side of it too now.
Exactly. And we talked about this. I mean, and you said it, you got to buy them. I mean, Porsche is one of the few manufacturers that listens when, especially, I mean, we've got a noisy fan base, right? I mean, we know that our customers and our enthusiasts, they're unhappy about something, they're going to make it known.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll make another cry for that too. I'm going to bang the drum. If you guys don't come out and buy these things, trust me, Porsche's watching. So if these things last for 24 to 36 months and they're not doing the numbers that everybody's crying for to buy these things, they will disappear as quickly as they showed up.
Yep.
They don't mess around. So
until I read the article, I mean, and just from an internal standpoint, this isn't something that like we've known about for months and nobody said anything about it. We were just as surprised. Hey, holy crap!
Yeah,
I mean, we're gonna get a 4-liter GTS Cayman or Boxster. I mean, that is awesome.
And back to what Chris was saying, they should fly off the shelf, to be honest with you, because you're 90% of the way as far as a GT4 or the Spider itself. If you whatever decided, whatever combo you go with.
Right.
And honestly, let's be honest. There's a lot of us that work normal jobs. There's a lot of us that live a normal life. But there's a lot of us that maybe had career success, and really, a GT4 isn't really, and the Spider isn't really your car, even though you want to believe that car. You want it to be your car, but to be completely honest with you, where you're probably going to be happiest is in this GTS.
Sure. Yep.
You really are going to, because you're getting the 4-liter and you're getting those things that Chris mentioned. You're getting the ventilated seats. You're getting the nav. You're getting the juicy bits that make it just that much nicer to be in. You're getting the sound deadening. You're getting where your spouse or your significant other can ride with
you.
And they're like, what is this thing? You paid X amount of dollars for this.
How much for this? Right.
This thing rides like a bucking board. I don't want to be in this. Like, this is awful. Why is it so loud? Like, I can't hear anything. The GTS is the answer.
Absolutely. And I mean, we had a customer, really good client, had a number of 911 GTSs. He was here today and talking about, what? I like the GT4. I'm not a fan of the fixed wing, this guy in particular, and I like it, but hey, it's not for everybody. Exactly. And it is in your way when you're looking in the rearview mirror. I mean, it just is. It is. So, he's like, okay, so I can get a 4-liter, Cayman mid-engine car with a 4-liter, and I don't have to have the big fixed wing. I can have, the normal spoiler and that kind of thing. And he's like, I'm in. Sign me up.
And I can PTS it, and I don't have to wait 1,000 years for it.
You can lease it. I mean, and not that you can't lease the GT cars, but they just, they're not cars that people generally lease. So,
good point. Exactly.
It's a car you can get a real lease deal on. You can do a 36-month lease on it, have a 4-liter bad boy ride.
Exactly.
And be comfortable on your daily commute, and you can take it to the track and be on it.
And it'll be a screamer, and it's going to have all the reliability. Obviously, I'll have the Porsche warranty. Like you said, it's just a win-win-win all the way around. And
certainly,
applause to Porsche for actually doing that. And again, delivering. This is back to 2018 where people were like, hey, there's the GT3 and we want it to be manual. Okay, fine. You want it? We'll make it. Here it is.
Yep.
Buy it.
Yep.
And, people did buy them.
They did.
And they're carrying a premium now because they made them that year. And even a resale now in 2020, they're still carrying a premium for that.
Absolutely.
So people that are buying cars out there, be mindful, buy one of these and maybe spec it properly. And you're probably it's going to be safe money.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Safe money. So that's exciting too. So talking about all those cars, let's spin into the EV Boxster Cayman. That's probably going to be coming from what Porsche says in 2023 is what they say. Yep. As we know, they're building or have built. It's past tense. They built their electric factory to produce all of their electric
They didn't
EV
build
cars.
that. They didn't spend all that money just to build one car.
Exactly. They didn't spend $1 gazillion to not use that platform on pretty much everything in their lineup. So, from the SUV mark all the way to those cars, I think they're using the skateboard effect, I think is the best way. Everybody's talking like the batteries underneath. You put the shells right on them and boom, slap them, and it moves on to the next car. It's like, there's a little bit of configuring. It's a little different but from a manufacturing standpoint, that helps them pump them out quicker, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So,
and I think that to that point, I think that, because of this skateboard platform with the battery pack in between the axles and stuff, because of that, I think it makes the Cayman and the Boxster mid-engine cars like a perfect first sports car to be electric, right? I mean, you still essentially have the weight, concentrated in between the two axles. I think that from a size perspective, it probably works.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see what EV sports car, what that looks like and what that landscape looks
Exactly.
like. Because I think Boxster and Cayman, again, is a great place to start. At one of the things that they mentioned at this, very short training that I went to for the Taycan is that without any question, electric 911 is going to be, there's going to be an electric 911 at some point. There's going to be a hybrid 911 at some point. But it was one of the things is that we want to make sure that our hybrid and electric technology matches the mystique of the 911.
Yeah.
I mean, they still talk about that car is talked about at One Porsche Drive or in Germany with reverence. I mean, it's the car.
It's a great conversational piece that you just had too, because that gives a lot of insight of how much legacy and legendary they feel about that car. That's what their core is based on. So I bet you, even with so many Taycan meetings behind closed doors, if we were flies on the wall, I guarantee there was 911 talk often in the room, all the time. Even with this car, how they were like, okay, we need to keep the 911 silhouette somehow with this car. Like, we need to keep that.
Yeah, I mean, in the Taycan, it follows that, right? The tall shoulders on the hood. I mean, the body lines. I mean, it's a Porsche when you look at it.
It's been referred to the four-door 911. Yep. I mean, even more so than the Panamera.
Agreed. I think that the silhouette of the car is more 911 than even the Panamera.
Yeah, it sits lower than a Panamera. Its headlight lines lower, like a 911.
I think they said something in the training. You're like an inch, maybe an inch and a half higher seating position than a 911. So I mean, it's it's like sitting. You feel like you're in a sports car.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
I think that stuff's coming, man, and it'll be awesome when it does.
I was just about to say that too. Can you imagine after we rode in that today, being in an EV Boxster or Cayman with similar power?
Right.
Obviously in the higher end of it, but being in a two-door sedan, and it's probably going to just be a mind-blowing experience.
Sure. I mean, I think that even especially as the battery technology improves and the batteries get lighter, and that's the thing is that that's one of the reasons why that car is so heavy. Is of course the batteries, the electric motors, all that stuff is heavy. Yep. So that's something that as that gets better. I mean, you imagine a 3,800, let's call it, let's add some poundage to a 911, and let's say it's a 4,000 pound car with that much horsepower.
Oh yeah, ridiculous.
Come on. I mean,
as we know, as time goes on and people are working on it in the industry, they just keep finding leaps and bounds to make things better. Perfect example, I think someone used, again, not mine, was TV technology. Remember when TVs first came out, even back when they were black and white in the 50s and stuff, and now we have paper-thin TVs that are LCD and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, now
the technology,
when you buy one, by the time you get it home, it's obsolete.
Exactly.
By the time you set it up, you're like, you can buy the same TV
and I
for
think
half
that
the money.
these cars are going the same way. We're going to start moving mountains here soon when a lot of manufacturers are producing it, because then there's going to be technology sharing, all this stuff. It's already kind of happening, and they're like, wow, this is how we do it, and this is how we make them lighter. And they're like, wow, we didn't even think that. And then everybody's just making everybody better. And before we know it, as consumers, we're going to be like, wow, have you driven the EV Boxster GTS? It flies. Literally flies.
I mean, the performance is undeniable. So I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah,
definitely.
And I think too, there's two sides to the coin as well. I think there's people who are always going to want the exhaust note, but I think there's also going to be something that's kind of serene as well, to be able to put the top down and have pseudo silent ride in a mountain range. Yeah. How soothing and calming does that?
Absolutely.
Even just imagining that right now.
Yeah, I never really even thought of that. That's
California Highway 1.
Yeah, if you're up by Big Sur or something like that,
you just hear the noise, the wind,
and just
ocean.
How calming. That's could be your tranquility drive right there.
Absolutely, and all the while just chewing up pavement. 120, 30 mile an hour.
Exactly. Just like an arrow, just through the
absolutely.
wind. And I can just picture that, how and you can probably hear the ocean crashing on the beaches because the silence of everything. So you're being put in nature and hearing the nature around you instead of making sound over the nature. Right. So that's going to be a whole different experience for a lot of people.
Definitely,
coming up.
and it's gonna require, some of that stuff is going to require a shift in the mindset, right? I mean, the first time you get in that car, and especially if you don't have the sports sound on and you start cruising, and if you haven't been in an electric vehicle before, it's strange
Yeah.
because it's so, you don't realize how loud a gas motor is
yeah.
until you're in an electric car and there's nothing going on besides the road. You know, you don't hear anything but the road noise. So.
Yeah, and then even in the hybrids where we put in full EV mode, we got to experience it, and a lot of other people. And if you haven't experienced it there out there, and the people with electric cars can speak to this as well. There's a calming thing that really, believe it or not, I didn't really think that was a real thing. But when you drive in just EV mode, and as Chris was saying, when we were driving that, if we were just cruising around and we weren't just blasting around the whole time, those stressors of sound and all of those things, the reverberation, all that kind of noise that comes in, that's eliminated from your life. So actually, like a couple octaves on the stress level have gone down indirectly because of it.
I think that's really well said. Yeah, I agree. I think that and that's one of the reasons why that stereo and the stuff they did with Apple and stuff is so cool, because you don't hear anything else. And especially, you know, like this car we drove in has the thermally insulated privacy glass. So it's got double pane glass. Makes it even quieter.
So it's super.
You couple that with, you know, I mean, to your point about the relaxation, a little classical music or some jazz or something
totally
like that.
Zenned out. Yeah.
Totally zenned out. Exactly.
Yeah.
Could do your, you know, the sound baths in the Taycan Turbo S.
All you attorneys and heart surgeons and cardiovascular stuff, I'm talking to you guys that you guys have high stress jobs. You need one of these to calm you down on the way in and the way out, like to work, man.
Exactly.
This is where you need to be with that. Absolutely. So, you know, with those cars and all that stuff coming around, didn't you have some stuff that you wanted to talk about too? Like what?
I was going to ask about the Cayenne Coupe. We've seen those, but we haven't really seen those.
Yes, so I'm with you. I'm yet to see the car in person live. We were expecting arrivals of those vehicles in March, actually. So they moved them back, and now they're starting to creep back up. So we're getting EPA and CARB certification for those cars currently, and they are in production.
Nice.
So we're gonna have a full Cayenne lineup of Cayenne Coupes.
Okay.
And for those of you that haven't seen it, it's almost like a more streamlined version of the Cayenne. It's very similar to me and to the shape of the Macan.
Yeah, I agree.
So you kind of have that kind of flyback, but very cool vehicle. You've probably, I don't know if you've seen the lightweight package that's available with the car.
Yeah.
So with all the carbon bits and and the houndstooth interior. And
I
stuff,
saw one when I was in England.
So cool.
Yeah, they had the launch one there when it was like signal orange with the houndstooth. They had one. I was there and I was looking at it and I'm like, this is amazing.
It's a really, really cool looking truck.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it in person.
The brakes are huge on the thing.
It's
huge.
ridiculous.
They're like the size of this table, like literally.
So, and they have, and the carbon ceramics share those 10 piston calipers of the Taycan, and so that, I mean,
when I was looking at them, I was just staring. I was like putting my hands near them. I'm like, oh my god,
really cool truck, and I, you know, and it's one of those things that when that segment first, because that's kind of like, you know, X6, you know, that kind of like sport, you know, SUV coupe. I wasn't even sure really what to think about those vehicles, but they've over the years they've really, really grown on me. And then of course I think, you know, there's several vehicles or several manufacturers rather that have something like that. But I think Porsche is going to do it the best, like usual. But full model lineup.
Same. When I first saw it, I think when they did the launch of it over the summer, I want to say when they showed that video, Porsche AG Group did that video of it, and they were talking about it. I had mixed emotions about it as well. And then a few months later, I actually saw it in person at Goodwood. And I'll be the first to say it, like, not because I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. It actually looks, with certain Porsche products, it looks better in person.
Yep.
Then it, you know, and to be fair, it's not Porsche's fault. Some things just don't translate well through photograph or video.
Sure.
It's just the way it is. There's certain colors that just don't come out. It does certain body lines just don't come out. And I'll be the first to tell you, after I saw it, I was in love with it. Like the whole like package of it with the houndstooth, and I was like, wow, this is really done well. Like I like this.
I agree. Yeah, and I think we have, you know, of our initial allocation, I think we've got one car available. So I mean, the response has been very good.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, but I'm excited to see it in person because I have not seen it live in the flesh.
Yeah. So, if I was a Cayenne buyer, I would opt to buy the Cayenne Coupe. Like that's just
I agree.
me.
I think I agree. Yeah, I think
it has
so
a
too.
slicker look to
agree.
it, and you know, optioning
I think
anytime you can get houndstooth on anything is always a win, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and it's like, and the collective option for that gets you that is expensive. I think it's, what is it, 15 grand or something like that. It's expensive.
Yeah, the lightweight option or whatever it is.
But it probably would cost you that much just for houndstooth and a 911 if you went through, custom tailoring or something like that.
Yeah,
so, I mean, the fact that you get a
properly.
bunch of other stuff with it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, I mean,
think it's cool.
that expensive lightweight roof that they're putting in there. I mean, if you start to do like product cost on stuff like that, I know it sounds ridiculous when you say it's a $15,000 option, but you really are stealing it because it probably costs them a ton of money
just R&D
to
Plus
actually
the wheels
do
that
that.
are on it
Yeah,
are cool. I mean, we've got a couple with it ordered, so I mean, it's something that.
And if you're there, like, how could you not spec it that way, right? Like in my mind, like, how could you not spec it that way if that was an option to spec it that way?
Yeah, I mean, and again, we're talking about cars, Cayenne Coupe Turbo. You're talking about $170,000, $80,000 car. What's another $15,000 between friends?
Yeah, exactly. And to spec it properly, though, that's another thing too.
No.
I totally agree with you. It's one of those like while you're in there.
Yep.
And again, really, it does sound strange to say that, but yeah, if you're spending 170, like what's 185? Come on.
And especially if you're, I think if you're getting that car, I think for the most part, you're I think, well, to a degree, all of our buyers are enthusiasts, but I mean, if that's not your first Porsche, you've got the 911 and stuff. I mean, if you know this brand, you know how cool Houndstooth is, a lot of that stuff.
And
so
you'd hope that
Yeah.
if you're going to spend 185K, you're at least somewhat of an educated buyer and you know what you're buying. You're not just saying, okay, check all the boxes just because.
Just because they're there.
And there are people like that, and there's nothing wrong with that.
is.
But for the most part, most of the people know what they're buying at that level.
I
They're
agree.
saying yes.
I think that might be a good first candidate for for a full EV platform for the Cayenne. Being so aerodynamic, the big brakes, everything kind of
100%.
Taycan wise.
100%.
I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I think we're probably not too far away from all of that stuff. I mean, to be completely honest with you, and as we talked about, it's right around the corner. So you have any stuff that you have coming up that you can share for 2020 that are some big highlights for you guys as a dealership and those things that are coming out? What are some of those things for you guys?
So, I mean, obviously new products are always fun. If you're, when you're in the brand and you're doing it every day, it's always cool to have something new to talk about. So, and some of those things we touched on, the GTS models with the 4-liter, I think that's awesome. We are going to be delivering Taycans like crazy. I mean, I think I have this demo that we drove together, which we're going to keep because we got to have one at least to drive and show people.
Yeah, you got to keep one in the house.
And out of our initial allocation, we have none available. So, I mean, the response has been tremendous. They're flying out, so we're excited about that.
Now, as far as the U.S. Deliveries, some people have taken deliveries, correct? But like super special people, because we kind of read an article there where some guy in Massachusetts, but he was some .com gazillionaire.
Sure.
And he got his delivered. I know that's shocking to everybody listening, but I mean,
special treatment.
When you're worth $1 billion, I think you're going to get one.
You got some strings you can pull, right? So I think that it varies. On the West Coast, California got the cars first, and that was part of an agreement that Porsche had and with the EPA and stuff like that. So there are some dealers that have had them for 4-6 weeks. So like we're allowed to sell this car.
Okay,
you know what I mean. So if we had somebody that was just like,
drop the hammer down.
I gotta have it. I gotta have it. I gotta.
Here's
have
$500. Let me have it.
Right, or whatever the case may be, of a really good customer. I mean, we're allowed to sell that car, so we could be delivering that one right now. We're just choosing not to. I'm sure.
Which is a smart move too.
You got to have one. I mean, you got to have one to show people.
Yeah.
So we're not.
Proof is in the product. So if. Again, you don't want to sit there and have to imagine, and you guys have primo buyers that are coming in, and they're like, well, what's one like? And you're like, well, I'd love to show you one if we had one.
Right. If you're on the fence, when you get out of that car, you won't be on the fence
anymore. Of course,
right?
100%.
I mean, you were in it, you're ready.
Yeah.
So we got to have one. I think that just selling the first one is kind of a short play. I mean, you could sell it and do that, but we wanted to have one. We're expecting to see real consumer vehicles start like March, April.
Okay. So not too far out, actually.
No, we're close. I mean, you think about we're already almost through January.
Exactly.
You know.
And I mean, heck, we were just here in the summer on the podcast, and how fast that flew by.
Exactly.
So
I think that, you know, we're going to initially Turbo S and turbos, and then on sale date for 4Ss is in March. April. I think it's April 10th, April 20th, something like that. So as those cars, I mean, once after this one, the cars are going to their homes almost right away.
Got it.
So yeah, I think that next 60 days we're going to see real deliveries starting Taycans, not just here, but
you know,
everywhere.
nationwide. Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, can you speak to this, because I kind of heard, you know, offline this was happening in general. Obviously, they was not speaking to a number, but they were just saying majority, just speaking in generalities of the Taycan. Majority of like the first run Taycans are going to be 4Ss.
That's correct. So I mean, and I think that is so. There was a lot of speculation before, you know, the announcement of the actual car, when we saw that, you know, the 3-spot, you know, the big reveal and all that. I think there was, you know, typically Porsche will release the hot rods before the you know, the more, you know, we'll call them less powerful models. They're not really base.
Absolutely.
But like the 911, we got the Carrera S first.
Exactly.
Then the Carrera. So I think that there was a lot of speculation that we were going to get Taycan Turbo S's and turbos for a while, and then the 4S. But Porsche is, I think that one of the things, you know, we talked about them being in tune to the buyers. The majority of the interest is turned into being for the 4S.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a combination of things. I think it's, first of all, it's going to be fast. Anyways.
Yeah,
they're
that's
all
true.
fast.
That's a good point.
And then I think that the price point is
I think let me get into it.
I agree, and I think that that car is the value.
Okay.
For dollar
That's a
for
sweet
dollar,
spot.
I think that's the value.
Okay.
Just like I like a Panamera 4S, I think that's got adequate power for the money, and if you want a turbo, of course it's awesome, but
of course
it's a fast car.
Exactly.
So
the most bang for your buck is like right in that
kind of
area.
right in that wheelhouse, GTS, 4S, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So I think that was part of it, and that certainly thus far has been the way the allocation has looked. We've been allocated far more Taycan 4Ss than Turbo and Turbo S. So, you know, besides this car, one Turbo S, a handful, you know, a few turbos, and quite a few 4Ss.
Okay.
So, I mean, that seems to be the hot
That makes
model.
sense. That makes sense, especially, you know, year one.
Yeah.
And then a lot of those 4Ss will probably eventually turn into a turbo or Turbo S. You know, those people are like, okay, yeah, I get it. I had one. Or it's adequate and they buy another 4S or whatever.
I think so. And I also think that it really, the way it is, and versus the way it was kind of speculated to be, this having more 4Ss is true to any of the other models.
Yeah.
I mean, I maybe get 2 911 Turbo S's, 2 coupes and 2 cabs a year, and I get 15 or 20 911s.
Yeah, I was going to say that a lot of middle ground.
We're the sweet spot.
So that's more true to the normal, the production model.
And that's a good way for you to put that too, because that actually makes a lot more sense now, because that's the bulk of where Porsche sells anyways. Same thing, even through its entire product line. A lot of Macan S's sell, a lot of Cayenne S's sell. You know, not a ton of people are buying a Cayenne Turbo S.
Correct.
You know, or hunting
so
that
it
down.
makes more sense that you're going to build more of the $125,000 to $30,000 versions than the $200,000 plusers.
Exactly.
Because there's just less customers for that car. So.
Yeah, it's a smart move. It's a play on basically their data they already have.
Sure.
As opposed to saying, well, yeah, let's make the ton of these and force them onto people.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely.
Want to sell them? That's where we're at.
Yeah.
So
you either buy this or nothing.
Right, and they're going to continue. Right, they're not going to stop building the car, so they're going to continue to do this thing, and then you get a 4S and you decide you want the Turbo or Turbo S next time.
Yeah, no problem.
We got
exactly.
it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's a great point. But I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
No.
Ran a good amount of time here. Do you have anything else you want to cover, Chris?
No, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on as usual. It's always a pleasure. So
thanks for coming out.
Fun.
Like I said, this is like our second home, so we love coming here. You guys always have a great spread of dealers, cars and inventory and secondhand cars as well. And you've got the new juicy stuff too.
That's it, man.
You've got the Stormtrooper Launch Edition Turbo S Taycan here, and
we're gonna get you guys in the car here in the next couple weeks.
Hey,
so
looking forward to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. And circling back to you guys as a dealership, and not just saying the patty cake this because you took the time, we're here, and just the relationship that we've been able to have with you guys, we really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and
of course.
You guys always making the time for us, and you especially making the effort to have the time for us. We're completely in debt for that.
Yeah,
we really appreciate it.
It's awesome, man. I mean, it was great. It was, it has been great to kind of build this relationship and kind of start out with just doing a couple cars here and there, and now we've done, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know, a ton,
10 or 12 reviews or something like that.
And it's great, like everything that you can think of, and it's just awesome, and it goes to show from a customer satisfaction standpoint of what is in your DNA here.
Yeah, we love the cars. I mean, first and foremost, we're like you guys. We're enthusiasts. We like to take care of people, and we want to share the Porsche love. So
I'm sure the listeners and the viewers who do watch the shows and our reviews, all the cars that we end up reviewing through you guys, they appreciate it as well because they're getting to see these things firsthand and seeing like real people. I think is another thing too, is a big thing. And
been seeing that a lot.
Some of our appeal that helps is that hey, we're just like you said, we're enthusiasts like you guys, and we want to show you the cars and what they can do instead of maybe, and I'm not going to name the names, but the higher levels that have the $1 million backing where these AG groups have to give them cars for a certain amount of time, and then they get to battle test them and beat them up. And
sure,
you guys are a dealer doing that for us as a courtesy, and we're so grateful for. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you guys, and it's been fun.
That's right. So help support the people that help Pcar Talk.
Yep.
Buy a car from Tampa, right? At this dealership. Like, do it. These guys will take care of you. They have the best inventory. They really do. And we just love everything they do. So we'll see you guys on the next one, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pcar Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at Pcar Talk or online at pcartalk.com.